it's wonderful to have you here with us in church today. I wanted to bring a brief update on some of our work through Open Hands with the poor here in Leicester. We've been so privileged to provide around 22,000 meals through our takeaway service and also our food store. Thanks to a grant we've recently received, we're going to be able to expand our food bank into a community food shop. This is going to enable those who are struggling to make ends meet to access a cheaper, affordable supply of food to help them get back on their feet. We've also recently launched a new click and collect service to provide essential clothing and bedding to those in emergency needs. We receive an online referral with our guests' orders, and then we pick and pack them ready for them to collect. We've also just begun to pilot a joint venture with another charity in supplying washing machines to impoverished families here in the city. Families in need are referred to us by local schools, and then we have the privilege of delivering and fitting the machines and blessing the families. And finally, through this time, our amazing English teachers who've been able to continue to deliver a large number of our classes on Zoom. We're so grateful for our volunteers, our staff with Open Hands, and we're grateful to God for his favour on our work with the poor. I also wanted to say that this time has taken a toll on many of us. The disappointments and the strains and challenges have left their mark. Some of us are going to need some help, some prayer, some time, some support. And as we head towards a return to a measure of normality, we're going to need each other more than ever. TLC will be a safe place for people to find healing, to find a listening ear, and to help you move forward. Together, we're going to trust the Holy Spirit and lean into Jesus more than ever before. I'm so enjoying the series of Philippians, and today we arrive at verse 15. And if you've missed any of the messages, you can catch up online with every single part of this series. And here Paul writes, "It's true that some are preaching out of jealousy and rivalry, but others preach about Christ with pure motives. They preach because they love me, for they know I have been appointed to defend the good news. Those others do not have pure motives as they preach about Christ. They preach with selfish ambition, not sincerely, intending to make my chains more painful to me. But that doesn't matter whether their motives are false or genuine. The message about Christ is being preached either way. So I rejoice, and I will continue to rejoice." Paul's life brought a reaction in others. His passion for Jesus and his commitment to the cause brought a response from people. And here Paul, writing in prison, and his life is still polarizing opinion. Some are supporting him and preaching the message with joy, and some are criticizing him and preaching the message from a position of jealousy. And yet Paul's response is this: either way, the message is being preached and I rejoice. A commentator wrote this, that Paul is saying, the king is being announced and I'm going to celebrate it. Now, our circumstances today are different in the culture we live, but the principles of this passage are so relevant. And today, I want to simply ask you two questions. And the first is this: how will you choose to live your life? Paul writes, "Some are preaching out of jealousy, and some because they love me." How will you live your life? With jealousy or with love? As Jesus followers, we're accepted before we do anything. We're defined by who he says we are, not what we achieve. We are precious to our Creator in spite of our flaws and mistakes. We are all accepted in the Beloved. And if we know we're loved, we don't need to be jealous of anyone else. Envy, jealousy, rivalry, competitiveness are exhausting. I know we can think it's so much better for others, but every one of us can find hope and joy where we are. Don't allow any jealousy to control your thoughts. Choose to live with kindness and generosity to others. Choose to live with grace and love and compassion for others. Is there jealousy in your heart? Come on, let's stop. Let's get some healing. Let's say sorry and then let's love. Our passage says, others preach about Christ with pure motives. Others do not have pure motives. So how will you live your life? With impure or pure motives? I think motives say a lot about us, and Jesus always knows the real us. When we exaggerate or lie or embellish in an ungodly way, it's because of impure motives. When we manipulate to get what we want, we're trying to prove something, be something we're not. These are impure motives. But when we're honest and vulnerable and real and forgiving, it's so much easier. When the me you see on the outside is the me I am on the inside, it's so much simpler. Pure motives are precious to the Father. Reading some of the responses to our anonymous questionnaire recently of the changes people are wanting to make in their lives as we return to gathering together, it's very moving. Have you ever seen impure motives in you? Are you ready to say, I need some help? As we reach out to the Father, there's rivers of purity and cleansing from the Holy Spirit ready to be poured out on all of us. So how will you live your life? With jealousy or with love? With impure or pure motives? And then Paul writes, they preach with selfish ambition. How will you live your life? With selfish ambition or a kingdom heart? Ambition is an interesting discussion for a Jesus follower because we're never called to deny our potential and we must make the most of our lives. But there's something greater than ambition, and that's God's will for my life and his will being my goal. I don't want to encourage every parent to urge your children to achieve, to do their best, to reach their potential, to speak out the greatness that's in them. But let your greatest desire be for them to walk with Jesus in his will for the whole of their lives. And Paul here uses the phrase selfish ambition. Selfish ambition is self-promotion. It's wanting to impress others. It's wanting to be liked. None of these will lead to happiness. It's why no cosmetic surgery will sort you out. It's why being thin will never solve your pain. It's why looking beautiful will never be enough. It's why being married or even having children will never solve us and solve everything in our life. Only Jesus can complete us. We're wonderfully, fearfully made, loved as we are. We're embraced by a perfect Father who celebrates us with abandonment. Let's not be driven by selfish ambition. Let's rather develop a kingdom heart, a heart that celebrates other people, a heart that rejoices when others are blessed, a heart that celebrates all God is doing everywhere, a heart that loves others. Later in our service today, I'm going to interview some church leaders here in Leicester who walk together and just celebrate what God is doing with them. He has one bride in this city, one church. Let's be a kingdom person. I'm sure like me last week in our family news when the announcement of Jesse passing away at 100 years old was made, it caused even those of you who never knew Jesse to be just touched. It's my belief that this lady who lived a simple life, when she came to her time, Jesus came and took her to be with him, celebrating her life. She's now with him. May we all live the kind of life that when he comes to find us, he finds a kingdom heart in us, having lived for others and celebrated what God is doing. Don't live with jealousy. Don't live with impure motives or selfish ambition. Let's live with love, pure motives, and a kingdom heart. And briefly, the second question is this: will you share the message? Paul rejoiced even when people shared Jesus in an ungodly way. He was saying, the king is being announced and I'm going to celebrate that. But he also said they preach because they love. In these unprecedented days, the opportunity is here to share Jesus with other people. That we love him so much, we have to share him with others. When we stop and we realize all that he's done for us, it's almost impossible to not share it with others. That Jesus left heaven and walked on the earth among our brokenness. That he was wrongly accused, enduring separation from the Father and carrying all of our sin and sorrow and brokenness on the cross. And he did it for us. They preach because they love me. When you love Jesus, you realize that people are lost and they need him to go to heaven. We must share. Let the life of Jesus pour out from every part of you. Keep praying for those in your world who are on a journey to faith. Be an example. Show Jesus in the way you live. Find every way to share him. Never give up. And as you listen today, 2 simple questions. How will you live your life? I pray you'll choose again to live your life with love and pure motives and a kingdom heart. And will you share the message? I pray today we will all choose to tell everyone we can, everyone we know, that Jesus is alive and he is the answer for their lives.